Hello, I am Janie Buckland with the West Virginia Few Families United for Education, and I'm joined today by my good friend Katie. And today we're going to talk about Prenda and microschools, not just in West Virginia. This is a national organization. So let's get started, Katie, by just having you talk a little bit about yourself and how you got started with Prenda.
I was a speech language pathologist. I worked in our public schools before I had kids. And then I did some speech language pathology with stroke victims, learned a lot about the brain and language. And then I pulled back from working and focused on my family. I was reflecting several years ago, this is maybe 2017, 2018, on the difference between what I saw in our public schools and what I saw working mostly with the elderly that had lost a language function in their brain. My main job as a speech language pathologist in our public schools was to bribe kids to do things that they didn't want to do. What game, what sticker can I do to get this kid to say his R right or practice these flash? Working with the elderly that had lost something, they were so motivated to regain the function of communication they had lost. I thought, how can we get this kind of motivation back into school? How can we get kids to love learning, to choose learning? How can we get rid of these bribes and punishments so we can actually unleash the natural human curiosity that is a part of every human brain and heart? I went on this deep dive into the psychology of motivation, what makes humans do things. Then in 2018, I ran into Kelly Smith, Prenda's founder, and he had just pulled his kids out of public school and formed a microschool around his own kitchen table with 7 kids. These kids loved learning. He was having incredible experiences in this new approach to learning. And we saw this model grow so fast here in Arizona. And then even faster through the pandemic nationally. And now, still, as the microschool movement continues to roll on with increasing force and power. I was just doing some research the other day and saw that the word microschool is surged 3 times as much as it was just a year ago. So this movement is gaining momentum and we're super excited to be a part of it.
I put in one of the descriptions about today's live, I put every time I talk to Katie, I just walk away like, I'm going to teach my kids all the things and it's going to be great because I love your story. It wasn't necessarily that you were inspired to fulfill some type of philosophical journey. This was just, I physically see a difference in the elderly and these younger children and the role that external motivations play in how they interact and respond. It's extremely encouraging to hear that from a mom who was experiencing that.
And when I met with Kelly the first time, I noticed a few things. I've been in public schools as an educator, not a classroom educator, because every time as a speech pathologist, I would go in awe of these teachers who were just working these rooms of 30 kids and doing their darndest. Such a hard job. So I've saw that struggle. And then I've homeschooled myself and seen the struggle of a homeschool parent. Am I doing this right? Where is the community? I wish I could have my kids have a little bit more out and about time with kids, but I don't want to lose all the autonomy and beautiful things I've created in our home. And then I've seen this from the child's perspective of feeling like I'm either too isolated as a homeschooler or I'm a little lost fish in a big sea in big schools. I've now microschooled my kids with Brenda for the last 5 years. I can tell you that microschooling solves each of those stakeholders' problem. A guide only has 10 kids, so you take that educator role and make it manageable and fun again. And then you take that parent role and say, I am going to share the responsibility of educating my child, but I am still a parent. I'm not giving my child over to the government. I still have a loud and powerful voice. And I have a partnership with the guide. From the student's perspective, they can work at their own pace. We interview all of these kids as they come in. Almost 10,000 kids have come through our program in the last 5 years. We interview them all about their pre-Prenda experience. 1/3 of them say, school was going over my head. I was lost every day. Another third said that they already knew all the stuff that was being presented and they were bored. And then only 1/3 of kids were telling us that they were engaged in that daily classroom instruction and that they were happy at school. Our kids are trying to tell us that the world that we've created for them isn't quite working for them in a whole host of ways. You can also look at the statistics for our youth mental health crisis. That's evidence, math and reading testing data that we have is saying, I'm not emotionally well and I'm not actually thriving academically. Like we're losing on all fronts here. And what we see, according to the data at Prenda, is that kids come to Prenda, some are ahead, some are behind, but we try to get rid of that whole philosophy of ahead and behind and just see a child who has goals and passions and curiosities that need to be nurtured and moved forward just a little bit at a time. We connect parents to guides that we train with this philosophy of how can I help a child love school? And we help children engage and own their own education so that they can come to that learning table with more power. And I've seen miracles happen with the kids coming through this program, my own included. So it's been a really
So
powerful.
the consequence of seeing the need and going into the research and the science behind the motivation and how the brain works, you guys became solutions oriented. And all of the microschool leaders that I've been able to meet and talk with across the nation have talked about how this kind of movement post pandemic, where we're talking about reforming education or transforming education, a lot of the conversation is surrounded around policy. The problem with that is we can get caught up in the data and not necessarily have something that's changing lives on the ground. It feels like to me what Prenda is saying is we're going to do the policy thing that we need to do when we need to do it. We're solutions oriented. These kids don't have another 5 years to wait for
Right.
us to improve classroom management or to get parents that aren't engaged to figure out how to engage. The time is now to create alternatives. So, for those that are looking for alternatives to a setting that's not working for them, tell us a little bit about who Prenda is for. Is it kindergarten? Is it ninth grade? Who is it actually for?
We serve children kindergarten through eighth grade. And in West Virginia, we're partnered through the Hope Scholarship for our Prenda family or single family microschool, where it's just more of a homeschool model, but you use our learning model. We're super excited working to get the full micro school version where you, as a guide, would serve other students and families in your communities. We serve several different populations. There's the kids, and then there's the parents who need to be involved and supported. And then the guide, if you are interested in hosting a micro school, you do not need to be a certified teacher. You just need to love kids and be willing to learn. We train you from the ground up, everything you need to know to run the Prenda learning model. We focus on helping you grow your school, marketing. It's a lot easier when you're starting out on a new adventure, like starting a micro school, to partner with a network of micro schools like Prenda, because you're going to have so much support and community and training. And it doesn't actually cost you anything to start guiding. There's no training fee or anything.
Right.
Like, we are just here to help you. Single family micro schools, good to go. If you want to homeschool Prenda, we can do that. And just stay tuned because we're going to hopefully have some good news soon for the micro school option in West Virginia.
If you are here in West Virginia, because I did share this with our national audience too, but if specifically if you're in Arizona, obviously it's approved. What other states?
You can participate in Prenda anywhere nationally out of pocket. You have to pay your guide, you have to pay Prenda those fees as if it were a private tuition driven school. But in Arizona, we are universally accepted through the ESA program. Utah, that just passed their Utah Education Fits All law, they've budgeted for about 5,000 kids this year. Hopefully in March, they're going to expand it so more kids can participate, but we will be in Utah. Same thing with Florida. We will be live in Florida for sure this next coming school year. And we're working on a few other states.
For you families that are already Hope Scholars, you can go in, you can reserve funds, and you can go ahead and start now. On top of that, I wanted to say to any of you who are looking, who are going to qualify for Hope Scholarship. So your kid isn't eligible maybe right now, or they've been qualifying to be eligible, or you're applying for next year. You'll want to stay in touch with what Prenda is offering, whether you're doing the single family micro school or if you want something in your community. It starts with families and then grows into the community. I like to frame Prenda and some of the other options as like these networks that if you are feeling kind of like you're lost on this scavenger hunt of ideas, by connecting with an organization like Prenda, you have a guide. You have the resources that are available to you and someone who's gone on before you. So, Katie, tell us a little bit about the community micro schools. If they sign up and we get this approved through Hope Scholarship, you said 10 students, but give us some of the other parameters. Like, what would a day look like
Sure.
for that family to join with others and have a micro school?
We've helped over 1,000 people do this. We know how to start micro schools. We know what you need. We know what works. If you choose to partner with Prenda, this is a trusted partnership. We invest a lot in you up front, and we are here to support you. You'll have your own micro school specialist. You'll have a guide coach. You'll have academic coaches. There's a whole host of supports that you will have in your back pocket as a Prenda guide that you wouldn't have if you chose to open a micro school on your own. Essentially, what you get when you partner with Prenda is all of the support and training. All of the kids that will enroll in your micro school get access to our full suite of curriculums. It's over 24 different educational partnerships that we've worked out that you'll have access to, and a whole other suite of options that we've built specifically for the micro school environment. These experiences and the way that we've set the learning model up help kids own their own learning to make it so, as a guide, you aren't standing in front of this class like lecturing at them or disseminating information. You're being a connector and a motivator and a coach. If the idea of being a guide is intimidating to you, just know that you are not alone, and that we have actually all of my children's guides over the last 5 years have just been parents who have stepped up, who wanted to be a part of the solution. They've had no prior training to in the classroom or education. Some of them have homeschooled a little bit, but some not. So this is very within your grasp, even if you don't have a ton of experience. 30% of our guys are also certified teachers. So if you're looking at this saying, teaching is stressful, this job that they've invented is not very tenable, my life work balance is not right, I want to be more creative in the classroom. We also support certified teachers. The great thing about the Hope Scholarship funds and ESA funds in general is that you can bring us a ton of creativity into this. You can use Prenda as kind of a backbone. But if you want to bring a certain like a performing arts or a STEM focus in here, that is so welcome. The future of education is plurality and flexibility based on the individual student needs. Yes, Prenda has curriculum and a system, but it's built in view of serving individual students, not trying to mass educate large bodies of people.
Prenda is offering the academics. So the guide wouldn't have to worry about putting all of those pieces together while giving the flexibility for it to have the flavor that looks good in that community.
Flexibility, both from the guide's perspective and the parent's perspective. What are their unique needs and goals and values? Can we bring that in? And then from the student's perspective, what are their unique interests and curiosity? And can we bring that in? All of our curriculum is partially mastery based, where we use a lot of digital curriculum because that is the most efficient way to put a child right at their learning frontier. And then all of the other subjects, science, social studies, STEM, art, all of that is very hands-on with Prenda. And we give you a huge library of collaborative whole group experiences. So the kids are doing things like debates and discussions and science experiments and building catapults. It's very hands-on. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm so excited to share this with our audience here in West Virginia and outside of West Virginia. I do want to thank you, Katie and Prenda.